butterfly pathway.
This is Ana Maria Oliva, PhD in Biomedicine, a seeker of truth, exploring the frontiers of science beyond materialism, with a passion for life. Her mission is to build bridges between science and consciousness, grounded in the most rigorous study of what conventional academia often overlooks, that we are far more than what the eye can see. That we are far more than what the eye can see. This work is rooted not only in scientific inquiry, but also in years of therapeutic practice, teaching, and the art of making complex knowledge accessible to all. The Butterfly Pathways honors her own path, because before being able to fly, the butterfly was a caterpillar hungry for the sky. One day it wove its shelter, and everything it was before dissolved. Its form, its history, and its identity. It learned that freedom is conquered within, and that sometimes to fly, you have to surrender to the mystery. In this podcast, Ana Maria wants to take you from science to the discovery of who we truly are, so that you remember the grandiosity of being human.
And that no matter what, our light will shine forever. It's my wish that is useful, that is insightful, that helps you to understand a little bit better the grandiosity of being a human being. And that also gives you a little bit of idea of who I am and what do I do. I have a big problem in repeating the same lectures over and over. So every time that I have to lecture, I create something new. Because even when they have the same components or the same things, I don't like repeating. I get bored of myself. So this is a brand new thing. It's very wide. I know that there is a lot of information. Just take it easy.
Very
there
white?
Are things,
Did you say very white?
Broad.
Wide.
Sorry.
Broad. Okay, go ahead.
Broad. Yes, thank you for your translation. And if I say a word that is not understandable, thank you. It's like there is a lot of information. Not all of it has the same depth. And there are some things that I just want to put a seed. Okay, so as it's there, and other moments you can go deeper on that or not. So let's start. I'm going to put this presentation. Thank you for letting me share. Adam, should I take the miniatures off or you don't see them?
We do not see them.
Okay, so then I keep them open because that way I have a feedback and I see that there is someone and it was just me talking. Okay, I don't remember if I gave you a title of this lecture or not, so I just created this one because the idea, as you can see, I'm not a flat earth person. The idea is that in the same way that we realize that we are on a planet and there is not only matter, there is an atmosphere, and in different layers of this atmosphere, there are different things that are happening. We are not just matter, we also have an atmosphere, and different layers, there are different things that are happening. So we are going to talk about this energy perspective about life and about health, okay? A brief introduction about myself, just because I've been told that it's necessary to always introduce yourself. So this is me. My first background is technical. I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical industrial engineer, so I cannot be more mechanicistic and materialistic in my background. But then there were many things happening in my life. I discovered energy from experience, more than from theory. So then I started a master in biomedical engineering, trying to find the connection between this materialistic, mechanicistic perspective and the new thing I was discovering by experience. So how to understand life in a bigger context. I did my PhD in biomedicine in the University of Barcelona, and the thesis was about the study of the induced effects of electric fields on cells. I was working in the nanobioengineering lab and in the macrobiology lab in the host pathogen section of the microbiology lab. I think you didn't know that one. And I was working in the Instituto for Bioengineering in Barcelona. Okay, this is a little bit my credentials. And from that background is that I'm going to tell you this. Today, this lecture has like 4 parts. The first part is an introduction. Then I'm going to talk about life as an electric process. Then we're going to understand a little bit what our own light is talking about, this biofield, what it is about and what it's saying, and some consequences of the above. Okay, so let's start. And I like always starting. This is how I am. I like starting with this quote from Richard Feynman, who was a famous physicist from the last century. And he says, I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of uncertainty about different things, but I'm not absolutely sure about anything. And there are many things I don't know anything about, and honestly, I don't care. In the meaning that what I'm going to tell you, I feel pretty solid in most of the things I say, because the things that I'm not solid, I don't say them. But it doesn't mean that I know everything. The thing is that I'm very curious, and because I'm very curious, I'm going to explain you what I came to understand. And there are many things that I still don't understand, that I still don't connect, and I feel good with that too. Okay, I feel good in not having all the answers to everything. So it can be that you ask me something and I just say, honestly, I don't know. And I feel good with that. Okay. So part of my intention in everything that I do is to find the truth. So I don't know if you remember, these pictures were pictures of a book when there were not drones, that it was heaven. No, it was the earth from heaven or something like that. It was La Tierra vista desde el cielo. So I don't remember the name in English, but was a person that was in those aerostatic balloons that they were flying and taking pictures from above. So it has to be something like the earth from above or something like that. And I love this picture because it represents pretty well what I try to do. That is distinguishing the dromedaries, how is it said, Adam? Dromedaries? Not the camels, because the camels have 2 things in the back, but the dromedaries, they just have one.
I don't know.
Yep.
Anybody?
That's correct.
Dromedaries. Okay, thank you. From the shadows. So I was playing now with Ruben and I was asking him, what are the dromedaries? And he was telling here and here and here, like, Mom, everything are dromedaries here. I said, no, these are the shadows. If you look at the picture carefully, you will see that the animal is just this line. You're looking at it from above. So the animal itself is just the line. What you see is the shadow. And this is happening very often. Do you see that? Is clear what I'm saying? So this is happening a lot. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of this. Is this an eye? No. If we put a bigger context, we will see that this is ice. It's not an eye, it's ice. It's frozen water. You can see here the tennis, the shoe of the person. Okay, and many times we get confused with the way we see the things. Is this the California fires? Wildfires? No, this is an eye. And things can get very tricky when we just observe the things. And you know that pretty well, Adam and Josh, because is this nanotechnology, self-assembling nanotechnology in your body? No, it's just an air pocket. So this is part of what I do, trying to distinguish what is the dromedary, what is the information, what is the noise, when the context is right, when the context is wrong, what is science and what is not. Okay, and I'm going to start this introduction continue with a question, okay, with a mystery. Because if you have learned about biology and physiology, you probably are pretty good in describing things. So you know that when there is a fertilized egg, the next step is that there are going to be 2 cells because of the division, and then you're going to have 4, and then 8, and then it comes a moment that it gets like this, morula, because it reminds like the blackberries, that in Spain we call them moras. And it's the same, but suddenly, instead of continuing this pattern, it gets hollow in the center, and then it does an invagination. And then you have the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. And this is a mystery, because why it didn't continue? If everything is about the genetic code, okay, I have the same genetic code here that I have it here, but suddenly from here it comes a liver or an eye or a heart or a blood vessel or a muscle, and nobody can explain you why, because it's the same information. So something is missing in this picture in which we can describe perfectly. We can describe step by step, but we don't understand why suddenly everything goes to the periphery instead of staying in the center, and it creates a hollow bubble. That's very interesting. And then invaginates, why? Who is saying that? And nobody can explain you that. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about an example that I love. Is from a book that is this book here. It's called The Body Electric. Probably some of you know it. It's from Robert Becker and Gary Selden. And this is a very, very interesting, mind-blowing book. So they were doing some studies with salamanders because they have an awesome ability to regenerate. So they amputate, they cut the limb of this salamander, like the hand. They let it a little bit to recover, and then they cut again this piece that is like what is getting regenerated, and they transplant that into the tail. And my question for you now is, what do you think is going to grow here? Is going to grow a hand, or is it going to grow a tail? So the answer is both of them can be. And depending on two things, is going to be a tail or is going to be a hand. And the question is, but it's the same genetic information. This is really interesting, at least for me, because you have the same information here, but depending on it becomes a tail, and you have the same information here and it becomes a hand. So how can it be if we've been told that everything is determined by genetics? You say, oh, epigenetics. Yeah, but epigenetics most of the time is also very materialistic. Is if you smoke or don't smoke, or where do you live, and all these kind of things. So I was telling you, it depends on two things. One thing, of course, is the position you are putting it. Okay, if you put it here, it says it's a tail. If you were putting it at another place, it could grow another thing that is connected to that place. But the second thing is the time. If it's quick, less than 10 days, if I don't remember wrong, I think 10 days or 2 weeks, I don't remember. If it's quick, it grows a tail. But if it is later than 2 weeks old, this amount of cells, then it has the information of what it was expected to be, and is going to keep that information. Okay, so this helps me, or at least this is what I believe, that helps to explain that we cannot just take into account the biology and the cells themselves, that we need to expand a little bit our vision and include something that we call the field, that we call the energy field, that is connected to something physical but goes beyond that physical. And in the field is where you're going to find the information if this is going to be a tail, or is going to be a foot, or is going to be a hand, or what is going to be. It's in the field itself, not so much in the cells. Okay, so this is the field. How can we visualize, how can we understand what is a field? So we have the magnetic field, that is the easiest one to understand. We have magnets. In this case, I have put 2 magnets. And you have a magnet and you have the iron fillings. The magnets are there, supposedly. I mean, if you look at them, looks like they are doing nothing, that they are inert. But when you put the iron fillings, you see how the matter, it's organized according to this field. Okay, I repeat that again, because the matter is organized according to the field. If you move the matter, it's going to reorganize again, because it's the matter that is the most solid thing is organized according to other levels that are hierarchically higher. Okay, and there is something interesting that I will come back to this later. That is, I put here 2 magnets, but it's impossible for us to distinguish, because there is no limit, there is no skin that separates the energy field from one magnet from the energy field of the other magnet. And that also is very important for what I'm going to explain later. Okay, so just keep this image in your heads about what is the field. It's a region of the space that has some properties. Okay, and these properties, this information with the energy it has, is the one that allows the matter to be what it is. So this is what I try to represent in this graph. This is the core of everything I've learned in all the fields. This is what summarizes all the learning. It looks so easy, and at the same time, it's so deep. Okay, so physics, the modern physics talks about reality as three different elements that conform the reality. And in the order they act is information, energy, matter. Okay, you can easily correlate that with consciousness, energy, matter, or consciousness, or spirit, soul, and body. You can correlate because when something is a truth, you will see that repeated in many different places, always the same. Okay, this is how life, or how life is made of: information, energy, matter. Okay, I'm going to just put a seed of something. I'm not going to go through this, but for some of you that could be interested in this other like leap of information, you can ask me later. We can also understand electromagnetic field like the material part of the energy, because we have the photons that are the particles associated with the electromagnetic field. We can fit what we call the electric scalar waves, or the Tesla energy, the cold energy, the chi, the ki, the prana, the orgon. All this here is not the same, but we can, let's say, put it in the same bag without making a big mistake. And we could talk about the Russell's white magnetic light, or this magnetic scalar waves here. Okay, this is just a parenthesis for some of you that want to understand why some scalar technologies work, how they work, and why we don't need them, basically. Okay, so, but this can be further questions if you want later. Yeah, I'm talking about the Tesla devices and all these things that are happening today. So I put here two arrows. Okay, let's come back to this, that this is here. I put here two arrows because it goes down. From the information, we use the energy to create the matter. That's very easy to understand. I have this, okay? Before being this, something that has matter and a shape, it was an idea. It was just pure information. And that idea was very well done, because if you check this, does click so as it doesn't get dry. And it also, you can put it that in the bottom. That's cool. And then you can even use this. So nothing of this is the result of random or just luck. You know, this has a purpose. This has been done because of a purpose. This is an information, but to create that, to give it a shape and a matter, we need energy. This is the process of creation of the reality. This is what we are. And if we could see the process behind everything we see, we will have something very different. And it's not only information, energy, matter, mostly in this direction, it also goes up. I just put another seed there for if anyone is interested. This is connected with the Ruppel-Sheldrake morphogenetic fields. How by changing the matter and by learning through the matter, we bring up all this knowledge that can be available for everybody. Okay. So for me, it's very important when I talk, and I talk a lot about medicine, because I do biomedical research. That's what I do and what I love. I always say that any medical model is talking about the way we understand what is being a human being. Okay, you have Chinese medicine that understand the human being as an antenna between heaven and earth and talks about the transformations and the flow of energy. You have the osteopathy that is talking more about this flow of the energy and that there are no blocks. You have the Western medicine that understands that we are just biology and biochemistry, and that the rest doesn't matter. You have the German medicine that understands that, wow, mind is everything, and the trauma is the base of everything wrong that is happening in our body. Okay, so each medical model talks about a way to understand what is life. And this is very important to know, because we come from a paradigm. The Western medicine is based on a paradigm, and you know that pretty well. I'm not going to emphasize here. That is based on certain authors, let's say, and that says that we are separated, that everything has a fate, and that we are just mechanisms, and that we need to fight and kill the causes of diseases. And we have now the beginning of an integrative medicine that talks about the terrain, the cooperation, the symbiosis, the collectivity, the unity, the systemic, and that brings us to a totally different paradigm that is healing instead of killing. And this is very important to know, and it's very important for me at least to understand that very clearly, especially when we are going to a medicine of the 21st century, that if you analyze that, they're telling you that it's based on this. Vaccines, GMOs, 3D printed organs, genetic heterogenics therapy, bionic implants, big data, artificial intelligence, and biosensors. These are like the 8 main topics of the medicine of the 21st century. Say, what? If any medical model is talking to you about how they understand life and human beings, how do they understand what is a human being? So as the way to preserve life is based on big data, 3D printed organs, bionic implants. Do they believe that we are just robots? Or what do they believe? And yes, definitely, they believe that we are just robots. And I will always like putting on top of the table, what is for you being a doctor, a nurse, a practitioner? What is for each one of us being a human being? Because the first applications of all these technological advances is medicine. The first robots, android robots that are being created is to substitute nurses. So I think it's necessary to do like wow, let's think about that. Let's talk about that. That's why I always try to put a little bit this topic on top of the table too, but it's just a little bit. Don't be concerned, Josh. I'm not going to go this way. So it is very important for me that we take into account that there are many perspectives. Okay. And the only way to understand truth is when we share the information. That's why I love sharing what I know, because that way I connect other dots, and I think that other people also connect other dots. So when we have a complex image like this one, if you've done any diedric perspective or this technical drawing, you will know about this. So if I just check this image from here, it's going to be a circle, and that is true. If I check this image from this other side, I'm going to see a square, and that is true. And if I check it from above, I'm going to see a triangle, and this is true. And we will only come to the reality itself when we start saying, stop saying you are wrong and I'm right, and just say, okay, let's share. Let's share what we know, because for me, this is a circle, and you say that this is a square. So let's try to figure out how can we see that from a bigger perspective so as we can get closer to the truth. This is what I love doing. So I was talking to you about medical models and how each one of them is considering human being from a different perspective. And I'm talking to you about different perspectives. So how many perspectives are we able to include in ourselves? Because health is about preserving life. What is life? How do we express life? Why do we get sick? How many parts of you do you recognize? If you only recognize the physical, you are going to be hyper-focused probably in doing a lot of sports or doing whatever that is connected with the physical part. If you are hyper-focusing in the biochemical part, you're going to be concerned about the pH and about the diet, and everything is going to be in your life is going to be about diet. Well, there are many parts that we can include in our health that we need to attend, that we need to take care of, so as we can stay healthy. Steiner was talking about the 4 bodies. I like talking about these 7 layers because I think they are useful for the moments in which I start explaining each one of them and how to take care of them. So I distinguish between physical, biochemical, electromagnetic, because nobody's talking about it, energetic as something beyond what we can measure, emotional, mental, and spiritual. But you can put as many layers as you want. The important thing is that we just reflect about this. How many parts of you do you recognize? Are you aware of? And are you taking care of? Because some people can get sick because they are sleeping beside an antenna or the router, or some people can get sick because they don't have any purpose in their lives. or because they have a mind that they cannot make it stop, or because their emotions, or because any other thing. So it has a lot of layers and a lot of perspectives to just focus in one of them. But today I'm going to talk about the bioelectromagnetism and why I love it. This is the picture of my thesis. I don't know why I don't have a copy. I just took a picture of this front. I don't know. One day I will have to print it out just to have a copy. But I like the bioelectromagnetism. That means this electromagnetic perspective about life, knowing that it's not everything that exists. That's why I always start with this other one before, if I can find it again. It's not everything that exists. I don't want to do like a hyper focus and say that everybody gets sick because of the 5G. It's not about that. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper in this part because nobody's talking about it, basically. And because I love it. It helps me to build bridges between science and consciousness. It gives us different approaches to health. It also helps us to find new options to evaluate what is happening and to do treatments and even to find explanations. And it simplifies the vision, not the vision. Because it has much less components, okay? So I'm going to start talking about that life is also an electric process. It's not just biochemistry. And I'm going to start with this quote from Albert Szent-Györgyi, who was Nobel Prize because of the discovery of the vitamin C. And he says, what drives life is thus an electric current kept up by the sunshine. All the complexities of intermediary metabolism are but the lacework around this basic fact, okay? And then you have the famous Tesla thing that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So I'm going to do a very easy and very simplified explanation of how to move from biochemistry to electricity. And I do it this way because most of the people only know the biochemistry. So for the biologists or for the physiology, we consider the ATP as the basis of the metabolism, and we do the equivalent between ATP and energy. And this is the Krebs cycle, which is the base of the ATP creation. You don't need to understand anything about this cycle, but if you recognize that, it's just how biochemistry is doing exchange of molecules or of particles to create what we want, that is the ATP that supposedly is the base of the whole metabolism. That's why so many people are concerned about the mitochondria and the health of the mitochondria so as we can create this ATP. If we go from the systemic level, from an organism, we are zooming in and checking. From the organism, we see systems. From the systems, we see organs. Organs, we see tissues are made of cells. Cells are made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. And then we get lost because after that, we don't know what else, what is the building block of what we consider matter. But what we know is that all complex molecules are something that are sharing electrons. So we can just check these electrons that determine if this molecule is one or is the other one. So when we check the mitochondria and we are talking about the cellular respiration, that means the ATP, we can see that with this horrible map of biochemistry that almost nobody understands, or we can see that as a molecule that is going from a high level of energy to a lower level of energy. And in this ladder, in this dance of electrons that are, the dance of electrons that are here partying, so we see how they are losing energy. It's the same electron that is losing energy, and we have the protons also. So we have at least some electric currents that are the electrons and the proton that are moving. And because of losing energy, this energy that is lost when they go down in this ladder of energy, it is released. And this energy is released at least in 3 different ways electromagnetically: in radio frequency, in infrared, and in biophotons. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that later. But the important thing is to understand that everything we can describe biochemically, we can also describe that electromagnetically as a dance of electrons. Okay, so here we have the mitochondria, that everybody's concerned about the health of the mitochondria. And we know that everything that is happening here is a dance of electrons and protons, so a dance of electric charges, and that 50% of the created energy is ATP, and the other 50% is energy. It is transmitted and distributed in the system through the microtubules in terms of infrared radio frequency and light, visible light. Okay, so only with this concept, only moving from this single process, instead of looking at biochemically, looking at electromagnetically, look at how many things we can start taking into account. I was telling you that bioenergy, and this is like a crash course, is easier because where the biochemistry has so many reactions and names and cycles and parts, in electricity there are only three things to take into account. One of them is what we call the transmembrane potential. That means the batteries, means how much voltage you have. You will probably know another book that is healing is voltage, or these kind of things that they hyper-focus a little bit too much in the voltage part, not taking into account other things, but they remind us that voltage is very important. So transmembrane potential is voltage. Why do we have this transmembrane potential? Well, because the cell membranes act as capacitors. I'm not going to go deep on that. You will have to believe what I'm saying or not, but I can explain you very deep why this is like this. They can store electric field there. That is what a capacitor does. Okay. Then we have DNA and DNA and some proteins that can be folded as an helix, like a coil. And every time that we have something that is conductor, that is a coil shaped, we have a coil, we have an inductance. Okay. And every time that we have a membrane besides something that is alpha helicoidal, so it has a coil, it can be the DNA or can be the collagen or can be any other protein. When you have one next to the other, it's created a resonant circuit. So I'm telling you just these two simple things. I know that I'm saying that very quick. You can ask me later if you want, or if you need more information about that, but it's like all the membranes, it's not just the plasma membrane, also all the little things that are in the cell, all of them are full of membranes, act as capacitor. Any molecule that has this shape as an induction, as a coil. So we have a lot of pairs of capacitor and induction that are creating a lot of resonant circuits. This is the base of the bioresonance devices and all this other approach to health. So this is the base of the resonance. And then there is another concept that is coherence, that talks about everything having an order and a purpose, and everything being connected to everything and listening to everything, okay? And these are the three basic concepts. With this, we have almost enough to understand what is happening from a bioelectromagnetic perspective, and we can complicate it as much as we want, but this is the basic, okay? There are many sources, many frequencies, and our whole biology and our whole physiology can be explained with that. We can understand how from the ether it is creating this irritation or this activation that we call electromagnetic, or we call biophotons, and then from that we create the symbions, and from there we have the biology we have. Remember, information, energy, matter, I was seeding that idea, and yes, we can more or less, not some gaps still, but we can explain how from the ether we have the biology we have, and we need the water for that, okay? Important thing is that we know metabolism depends on voltage. Healing is voltage, and everything is about raising your voltage. Why? Well, because it's very important. There is what is called the Bohr effect, in which if we don't have enough voltage, the cell cannot incorporate the oxygen. And if the cell cannot incorporate the oxygen, then that cycle that was supposed to create 38 molecules of ATP with just one oxygen, when I don't have it available, I can only create 2 for each fatty acid that I put. So it's highly inefficient. That is what happens when there is a cancer. Okay, that there is no oxygen, is highly inefficient, so they have to start growing and growing and growing. Okay, so the metabolism depends on the voltage. More voltage, more transmembrane potential is talking about electrons. We cannot just talk about electrons. I was telling you, life is the dance of electrons and protons. Okay, so when there is a change in the amount of electrons, this is reduction or oxidation, and there is a change in the amount of protons, this is acidic or alkaline. When those things change is when there is a change in the metabolism, and is when the pleomorphism starts happening, as Claude Vincent was describing pretty well in his chart. Okay, so if life is electric, hi, there are so many questions. Where does the voltage come from? Where is it stored, and why it drops, and what are the consequences of this drop of electricity? How can we measure? How can we recharge the batteries? There are so many questions there. And there are so many structures in the same way that we have a physical body, and we distinguish the bones from the muscles, from the digestive system, from the immunologic system, from the circulatory system. When we talk about electromagnetism, we also have a lot of different structures. And as Adam was saying, I just created basics of bioenergy that is just, I believe that this is what everybody should know about bioelectromagnetism. So you have that available in the University of Terrain, in the Terrain Basics. It's a short course. I think it's quite understandable. And I think that is going to make you very curious about a lot of stuff. Okay, because there is a whole new paradigm with some superheroes. These are the names of some of the superheroes of my own galaxy. Can be that you know some of them, can be that you don't, but these names have been very important in my understanding of reality. And I was telling you that I like this bioelectromagnetism because it helps me to change the paradigm. I was putting that image in which there were two magnets. And I was telling you, there is no skin that separates one from the other. And is that the biofield doesn't have a skin, doesn't have an end, doesn't have a separation. So just now imagine what are the consequences of realizing that you don't finish where your skin finishes or where your hair finishes, that you don't finish. Why we still talk about I and not talk about us or we? How can we separate ourselves from our environment? How can we separate ourselves from the terrain? How can imagine all the consequences? At least for me, there were massive changes in my consciousness when I realized this. We are not separated. We still think that we need to take care of the earth. We are the earth. How can you consider that you are not? If your magnetic field is dumping with the space, but it never ends, and it's all absolutely like a soup with all the magnetic fields of everybody that lives around you. Okay. There is another thing. When we talk about interactions and we talk about these interferences, as you can see in this second picture, you see that every time that there is an interaction between two of them, both of them get transformed. So there is no such thing as someone comes to me to talk to me and, oh, I'm so good that I transform that person. Is mutual or is not. We are all the time being transformed by everything and everyone. And I'm going to show you in a moment a lot of images of this. And I was saying that it's simple. It only has these three words, but offers us a lot of new options for understanding and for helping the body to recover the balance. And also makes us, okay, be aware, because there can be other influences that we are not taking into account sometimes. And I want to say, and I want to thank David Barbarese, who is here, for helping me to translate this book. This is my fifth book. It's the only one that I have in English for the moment, and it's called Digital Hygiene. It's going to be in Amazon next week if I can just finish this. ¿Cómo se llama la portada? This, how do you call the portada? The front page, this,
cover.
The cover, thank you. Exactly. I just need to be sure that this text is okay, and it's done. Okay, so it's just a manual to understand why we should take care of electromagnetic, external, not native, artificial, whatever you want to call them, electromagnetic fields, and how to take care of ourselves in a society that is every time more and more electrified. Okay. Coming back to this and going deeper in this understanding of our biofield, I say why it is so important, why I've been more than 20 years hyper-focusing in this bioelectromagnetic field. Well, first of all, because nobody was talking about that. And second, because we can only change what we see. If we don't see something, we are not aware of something, we cannot work in that. And also because for me, responsibility and power are the two sides of the same coin. So if every time I want to be more sovereign, if I want to be more powerful, I need to take responsibility of everything that I do. But I cannot take responsibility of what I don't even know that it exists. So for me, understanding this biofield, and I'm going to explain now to you how was my journey, was something key to understand better how I am and how my body works and what can I do to be more powerful and more sovereign. Okay. The possibility of seeing ourselves in a different way from an electromagnetic perspective is also the possibility of knowing more. So it means more consciousness and to be more sovereign. So I use these images. These images come from this little device that is called the BioWell. I should have had this ready, but I didn't. Sorry. It's this little box, this white box, that allows us to see the invisible, allows us to see little part of the biophotons, well, of the light we are emitting, let's say that way, to be precise. We can see different things. We can take a picture and see a photo of what is happening both in the psycho-emotional part of the physiological part of the person. We can do a before and after and check if a treatment has been good or not. We can measure the environment, the water, and some other things and see the influence of consciousness on matter, or even the influence of whatever we want to check. And we can study the energy of the places. This is more or less the overview of what we can do with this little white box. I call it the crystal ball, although it's not crystal and it's not a ball, so I should change that. So the original images are these ones, are the 10 fingers, black and white. And then the software, since we don't see pretty well the contrast between the grayscale, our eyes are not designed to see the grayscale, the software changed that in colors. And we can see each one of the fingers is connected and is being very precisely and described awesomely, very scientifically, highly well published, the connection between each part of the finger and the different organs and systems that we have in our body. So after that, the software gives you some images, okay? And I'm going to show with you part of my journey, understanding myself and understanding life and others. And this is me before and after 1 hour working with the computer. You will see different versions of the software because I've been working with this technology more than 20 years. So in that time, there are many changes in the this is, so nice with the swimsuits. So beautiful. But you can see how this energy that was expected to be as organized and compact and solid as it can be is like an egg around us. Of course, nothing about inside is about me, is everything about outside of this egg, let's say. So what we want is to be consistent, this light blue, and then have the rest of the colors. We don't like to have it broken. We don't like to have it with less colors. So after 1 hour working at the computer, me at that moment, this is what happened. My head was like this, that I was feeling, oh my God, I have the head like this. So yeah, energetically, it was like that. And I was losing energy in other places. And that was very interesting for me because at that moment, I was a little bit new agey. I was a little bit into this, well, but I vibrate in love and I do what I love and I have this passion and this is going to compensate the electromagnetic field. And no, it didn't. Okay, so that was like, okay, probably I have to do something after working on the computer. Here we have another person. This is I was devoted to do this work for years. I was even doing a lot of workshops in schools and in different places, presenting people that we are much more than what we see and how things affect us, because this is what I believe is going to bring us the power and the sovereignty in our lives. So this is Julio. He was one of my students and he's a musician. So I put him to listen noises. So this is Julio at the beginning, the before. He was a teenager in that moment. So his field, this is normal for a teenager, is a little bit like messy or broken, but it's normal for them because metabolism is very active. And I put him to listen to white noise, just the static of the radio, nothing else. And this is what happens. Does it happen to everybody all the time? Probably not. Okay, I'm not pretending to show you scientific results as there's a double blind study with control things. No, this is the result of 20 years of patterns that I was obtaining consistently. So most of the people in front of a white noise or not natural, let's say, because if it's from the beach, from the ocean, is a different thing. But you have someone that is working, or when I was working in the lab, that we have those fans that they drive me crazy. You are under this campana, this thing that you have to be there inside that, and you have the fan all the time for everything to be clean. And I was crazy with that. Well, now I understand why I was feeling crazy after listening to this white noise. You see how it breaks. Okay, I know that probably is the first time you see these images, but this is the magic of images, that you can see that this is stronger than this one, that this person has lost some energy. And the electromagnetic field is what, or the biofield, whatever you want to call it, is what nourishes information, energy, matter, nourishes our physical body and protects us from everything outside. So it's making you much more vulnerable, this situation. Okay. Playing with the PlayStation. All the time, always, no, but there is a pattern. Most of the time, the kids lose a lot of energy. 5 minutes playing with the PlayStation. But playing without the PlayStation, just having fun, just making a joke, just throwing. This was the girl. In fact, this is Julio's girlfriend, that she was there while we were doing a lot of tests, and he was playing the piano and checking what happens when you play something romantic or when you play something that you have composed and things like that. And the girlfriend was there, was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to stay so long. And she was like this, broken. And they just let them play a little bit, and they were just doing the stupid things. But look at how 5 minutes of playing was restoring her energy field, because this is not just about, oh, everything is so dangerous, everything you do is going to destroy your energy field. Everything you do is going to destroy or restructure. It depends on you. But the more you know about the things that help you to build your energy, the more powerful you're going to be. And this is my purpose, that you take responsibility for everything you do so as you can be sovereign of your life. A cell phone call. Okay, this happens to everybody all the time. No, but most of the time, yes. And this is just the call. It's not any content. It's not that they are telling me bad news or they are going to steal my credit card. This is just the phone call, the signal. Okay, so this affects us. We need to be aware. Don't carry your cell phone here. Don't carry your cell phone in your pocket. Don't put it away. Put it away. Turn the notifications away and be a little bit more free. Good music. What is good music? So it depends on the person. This person, another teenager, this is part of what I was doing in the schools. I told her, okay, now I want you to listen to this music. And I put this music to her. And she told me, I didn't like it at all. It was horrible. So it was not such a horrible song, but definitely her body didn't like it. You see how the head gets crazy, how the back gets crazy, how everything is like a hedgehog. She was a little bit like a hedgehog before, but now it's even worse. And then she says, let me use my music. let me put something that I like. And she put something that she likes. And look, in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, look at her field. That's awesome. We can do a lot of things to be better. Check what you are listening to. Check who is around you. Check all these things. Be aware. Listen to your body. She was absolutely aware that that music she didn't like that, but she loved this other one. Yeah, it's creating a very nice effect on you, this music. I stopped doing these other things. I was putting together in a couples, each one putting one finger and seeing what was happening with the energy, putting both fingers together. And I stopped doing that because it was the cause of divorce. So I didn't want that, and I just didn't do that anymore. But I was putting together two fingers, and here, for example, you see two people, they don't know each other, and there is a white corridor. There is no energy affinity between both of them. But here you have two people with a very close relationship. And in fact, you see how one of them is just like hunting the other one and say, hey, come here, you are part of me. And that was fun to do, but I stopped because it was bringing me a lot of problems. I decided not to do that. But at least you can be aware that sometimes you feel that rejection to the other person and you don't know why. It doesn't matter. Just respect that. It's okay. You don't need to be friends of everybody. You need to be, let's say, polite or respectful. You don't need to be friends of everybody. And this is really nice. I was at the Jesuits school, which is a context. I put you the context. It was the Jesuits. And I was in the, as I was doing that with many schools, I was telling them, okay, so some volunteers, okay, here we have this, Daniel is the volunteer this day. You can see Daniel, right side is a little bit broken, left side is stronger, right side is more about tiredness of thinking. He was at the school, so that makes sense. And here put this emoto because this is my version of the emoto work. It's not so beautiful, but it can also bring us this connection. So I told them, okay, volunteers, so go out. What do you want to do? Most of the time, they just wanted to listen to a song or run a little bit or just dance like monkeys. But this, in the Jesuit school, they told me, I want to insult, to say bad words to my friend. I say, come on, could you think in something different? I said, no, I want to do that. And I said, okay, so go out and say horrible things to your friend. So we were doing that. As you can imagine, they were just trying to laugh at me and the activity we were doing. They were saying, you stupid, whatever, and ha, 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 ha. So there was no intention. There was just the word. So they came and I took the second image and I said, now you go out and you say beautiful things to each other. Yeah, we need to compensate. We had with the Jesuits too, so we need to compensate that. So they go outside and start saying, oh, beautiful things and ha, 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 ha. Okay. But what was interesting is that when they came in, then I analyzed the images. And look at this interesting thing. I was telling you, right side, this is like a mirror, right side was tired, was broken, but left side was good. Left side is the emotional part. After saying horrible words, this emotional part breaks. And after saying beautiful things without intention, all the field restores. And I tell you, I've been a woman in a man's world. I'm an engineer. I'm used to be with men. I studied in my college. I was we were like, I don't know, one woman every 200 men. So I was used to talk rude sometimes because that was the world I was used to live. And when I saw that, it was like, it is so important how we talk to each other, the words we use. Is not the intention, is not only the intention, and you can add the intention layer, but just the power of the words. For me, it was shocking, absolutely shocking. Getting upset, this is what happens. Like the fish, you get upset and you just shh. So nobody's comfortable beside someone that is upset. And now you can see why very graphically, because it's like a hedgehog. It's going to just, you feel it. You are I don't know, even in the cinema beside someone that is upset and you feel it. So yes, trust that feeling. because it corresponds to a reality. Okay. This is why I don't like ayahuasca or bufos or the other things. Because this is the original field of a person, this is an original image, and this is after taking ayahuasca. And this is how the field gets. And this is a real image taken by myself. This is why I don't like it. You can take the conclusions you want. Emotions. This is also fun because this is another one of my students. I love this guy. He's called Xavier. And he came once and say, I'm going to blow your machine. This is going to be awesome because I bought the best present for my girlfriend. Think that these are people that are 18, something like that. And then we take the image and we see this. And he was broken. You see that it's totally broken. And look at the back. There is nothing here. There is nothing there. It was like, okay, look at this. He was tired. He was physically tired. So, okay, how can I interpret this? Are emotions bad? And many times I ask people when I have more time, I say, what do you think is this? And people say, oh, this is, I don't know, anger or sadness or no, this is just someone that is very excited. Is that bad? No. Emotions take us out of our comfort zone, out of our balance to show us something. So as we can learn, it's not such thing as bad or good. Okay, this is another reflection. We can go deeper on that too if you want. And thoughts, and this is the most important one for me, guys. This is like the last one I normally share, and this is the most important one. Why? Because I have here this guy, he's called Gerard, and was another one of my students, and I loved him. And Gerard has some problems, some difficulties, challenges in his life. And he comes and take the picture, the before, and start talking to me and say, you're not going to believe what my girlfriend did. She has posted a picture of her in bikini in the social media. How can you believe that? I felt so bad about that. And it's because she's doing this and she's doing that and she's doing this, she's doing that. And half an hour later, I took this picture and I told him, and Gerard, this is what you are doing to yourself by going cycling in the same thought once and again and again and again and again, and repeating to yourself how this girl has betrayed you or how this situation is damaging you. This is what you do to yourself all the time, just with your mind. And I always say that from the thousands and thousands of images that I have taken with this device since the beginning of the 2000s, when I bought the first one, I had to sell my house to buy it. And I did it. This is one of the most devastating ones because this is the power of your mind. This is the power of your thoughts. It's not about the 5G. It's not about parasites in your brain. It's not about nanotechnology. It's not about anything else, but you and your mind. So tell me if this is not a powerful tool to show people what we need to take into account. Now, in this context, I just put this warning here. Caregivers, parents, teachers, practitioners, people that are, let's say, taking care of other people, we cannot give what we don't have. This is a very basic thing. These are the caregivers of a center I was working when I was living in Colombia, that they were taking care of kids that were abandoned by their families because of a supposed HIV infection. They were literally abandoned. There were like 40, 50 kids. There was a foundation, and they hired me to take care of the kids. And I say, let me first take care of the teachers and the caregivers. And when I find those were the caregivers, so how do you believe you're going to help anyone if your field is like this? Any kids, any person, especially kids that are hypersensitive, are going to be beside you. You are going to drain like a vampire all the energy from this other being if they are stronger than you, and you are going to just be like a hedgehog. Nobody's going to want to be beside you. So for me, this is like the easiest way to understand. You first. You go into the plane and they tell you, if there is a decompression, dispersation, whatever station it is in the plane, you just get your mask and put it. And if you have kids, you first put your mask and then you help your kids, because otherwise you both die. But we don't understand that, me first. I don't understand me first. I'm the first one that doesn't understand this me first. Okay, but I have to remind myself this all the time. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give the love you don't feel for yourself. You cannot give the peace you don't feel. You cannot give anything that you don't have. Okay, so this is something I repeat to myself. But the good news here is just breathe. Look at the difference. Just breathe. You don't need to learn 10 different ways of doing pranayama. Just breathe. Let the life go in and let everything get out of your body too. Just breathe and see the magic started happening in your life. Okay. So for me, that was very important because what do you see here? Adam, what do you see here?
There's a building in the reflection of the eye.
You screw my image. Yes. Most of the time when
see
I
an
show
eye.
this, exactly. What do you see? You see an eye. And then I point out, do you see the building here? So probably some of you have seen the building and some of you haven't. But now everybody sees the building. Once you've seen that, no matter how many times or how many years later I show you an eye, you are going to look if there is any reflection of anything. And that is what I love, that once we've learned something, we've learned it. So those images help me a lot to understand the price we pay because of our lifestyle. And then we blame parasites, or we blame the chemtrails, or we blame whatever other thing we want to blame. But it's about us. It's about, again, responsibility to recover the power or the sovereignty. Now is more trendy sovereignty. When I started was power. So we can understand that we are this antenna. I'm realizing that I'm being a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm enjoying it, so I'm going to keep on going. So I hope you are enjoying it too. We are antenna between heaven and earth. And on the heaven, in the sky, we have the Schumann resonance. That is an electromagnetic field that has some frequencies and some power associated to these different frequencies. The main frequency is 7.8 hertz. That interestingly, and then you have the harmonics that can be higher and they can have higher power. That's why people say, oh, the Schumann frequency is changing. No, it's not changing. What is changing is the amount of power it goes to the different frequencies, the different harmonics. But this 7.8 is not only the frequency of the sky or the heaven, as you want to call it. In Spain, we just have one word. In English, I have to choose which one is the one that suits. But it's also the alpha wave that we have in our brain when we are relaxed. It's like the mind of a child. The children, they live in alpha. When we are relaxed, when we are meditating, when we are almost going to sleep, we have that same frequency that the heaven is giving us. It's the same that the animals have. It's like the common language that we can talk between heaven, human beings, all living beings, animated that have soul, anima. And it's the same that the magnetic field, that thing that we see with brújula, how is it, brújula? I have the compass. You see with the compass, and you see that, and you see the needle pointing the north, and you feel it like static. But if you could look at the microscope, you will see how it oscillates. And this oscillation is the same frequency. So look at what amazing thing. We have the same frequency that the heaven and that the earth. So we are absolutely connected with the planet we are living on. And if for one of you that is interesting, look at this. Here you have the heart rhythm treated mathematically as the Heart Math Institute love doing. And the magnetic field, this is like the dot line or the light line. And the stronger one is the magnetic field from the earth. Isn't it cool to see how we are connected? Our heart is listening the heart of the earth, if we allow me to do this license, okay, of doing that. There is the long-term study of the heart rate variability response to changes in the solar and the geomagnetic environment, and you see this. Wow, our heart HRV is serious, is listening what is happening with the sun. We are not just reacting with vitamin D. Our heart is all the time reacting to what is happening on the earth and in the sun. And even more, it's not just that our heart listens to the planet heart, it's that the planet heart listens to us. This is the recording of the geosynchronous operational environmental satellites that are measuring the Earth's geomagnetic field. You have red and blue are the two satellites. And this was the 9/11. And when that happened, the whole heart of the Earth was shocked. Well, that shocked is an interpretation, was reacting to that. Okay, you see here how was the heart of the Earth. This is a 9/11, and suddenly, look at this. The heart of the Earth changes because of what happened, independently of what really happened. Many people died. This is the same. These are the random number generators that tell us how they were detecting something was going to happen before it happened, and how it was detected by supposedly just machines, that they don't know anything about consciousness. But there was something in the collective consciousness of human beings that were aware of something was going to happen. Is that the proof of intuition? I don't know, but it's quite interesting. There is a project that I love that is the International Peace Project in the Middle East. They were using the Maharishi transcendental meditation to see if meditation was able to change something. And there is this scientific research on the transcendental meditation field effects for experiments that will change the world, and that have already changed the world. And I'm going to just mention one, because for me, it's like unbelievable. This was done by the Harvard University. Here you have Charles Alexander and John Davis. And they were monitoring what was happening between the conflict between Israel and Lebanon in the 80s. And they were monitoring that in terms of how many people were dying, how many people were wounds, and the intensity of the conflict was a combination of different parameters. So they brought people to the conflict place, and just these people were just there meditating. Meditating is doing nothing, because meditation is not a verb of doing, it's just a state of mind. And what do we see here? We see the intensity of the war in this line, and the group, the size of the group that were meditating in the dot line. Okay, war intensity scale and group size. We are talking about groups about 200 people. We are not talking about 20,000. Okay, 200 people. What do you see here? When the group was big, the intensity of the war was low. When the group was low, the intensity of the war was high. They observed that there was a decrease of the 70% in the number of people that died, 68% of less wounded people. And in general, the intensity of the conflict decreased in almost at 50%. Just because a group of people, around 100 people, almost 200 people, doing nothing, not doing, meditating. I just let it there. I don't need to do many more conclusions. Each one of you can understand how powerful we are. We are so powerful that if we want it and we unite, we can stop any war. We can change this world, and we are already doing it by doing these webinars, by doing the gatherings, by being together, and by cooperating. Because, and this is something that I also love. Do you know what's the difference between a diamond and the carbon, the coal, or even the graphene oxide, if you like that? The only difference is how the different atoms connect to each other. I'm going to do something. Do you recognize this song? Da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. Do you recognize that? Okay. I'm going to sing a different song. Let's see if you recognize that. Da 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 da. Do you recognize that song? Is it the same? There is no note that is the same in the first version and in the second version, but you recognize the song because of the distance, because of how the notes are connected one to the other. So that makes me believe that the important thing is not you and me and Judy and Ruth and Paul and Jim. It's about how do we connect. Depending on how we connect, we can be diamonds, we can be graphene oxide, can be coal, and we will do different things. So for me, it's not so important. Each one of us is what do we do together? That is what really matters. Remember, just breathe. Just connect with life. Life is there. You are that. Stop your mind. Meditate. Connect. Realize that there is no skin that separates you from the rest, from nothing and no one. And this is the last image I'm going to share, or almost the last one. That is an image taken by Dr. Korotkov, in which there is a person, individual A, that is sending a love thought to the individual B. They are separated 6,000 kilometers, one from the other, and this is sending a thought of love. A thought, but look at where is it coming out from. And is arriving to the other person that is receiving this thought of love. Because everything, I don't know how to translate, todo llega, everything reaches, everything goes and reaches the purpose, what it was made of. Everything is, nothing is lost. That could be the translation. Nothing is lost. When you bless the water you are drinking, you are changing, and this is exactly that. This is the water initially, and this is the water after, just blessing and saying thank you. When my mom was, and my grandma was showing me how to bless the food we eat, grandma thinks. No, it totally changes the energy and the structure of what we are doing. Everything is about consciousness. Nothing is lost. Everything goes also up. Everything we do, we learn, we conquer that for everybody. So never, never accept that anybody tells you that something is written and it's going to be like this forever. Never accept someone telling you something is chronic and you cannot change that. I hope this presentation helps you to understand that we are recreating and rebuilding ourselves at any moment very quickly, just with our decisions. I hope that this makes you curious to know more about yourself and to observe more. You don't need machines. You just need to observe yourselves, how things are going with you. How is the reaction of your body? Because the body tells us everything. When I go into a certain place, when I'm sitting with a person, or when I'm listening certain kind of music, or I'm just eating something, never accept that someone tells you that there is a fate and that you cannot change that, because this is simply not true. Thank you. If you have enjoyed my content, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. It's not easy to start from scratch a channel, so please, I encourage you to share that. And also, if you like this content, you will probably like what we talk about in our Living University of Terrain. We have a lot of interesting information there, so you can consider just checking it out and see if it resonates with you. Have an awesome day.